Well, you've been waiting all year since January of this year. So here it is, the compilation of all my Sonic Ultimate Challenge videos. I meant on the Genesis into one large video. I've also turned down the volume a bit because the comments would not shut about the volume control, which I do agree is bad, but the intro and outros don't count towards this. I also added the Sega Master System and Game Gear side-scrolling games onto this video as a bonus. Anyways, here is the classic Sonic the Hedgehog Ultimate Challenge. Ding! Ding! Oh! Alright, because the community decided that all of the 8-bit games go first, I will be talking about the rules for the 8-bit games, and to be honest, each game either adds or removes rules, so we'll have to make up new rules each time we enter the next 8-bit game. The rules will change, so keep this in mind. We are going to be starting off with Sonic the Hedgehog. No, not that one. We are beginning with the Master System version. The rules of this game goes as follows. I can't use checkpoints. While I can still activate them, I can't use them as checkpoints. Instead, I will load a save state back to the beginning of the level. Which leads to my next rule. No save states. Now, yes, I did say that I could use save states, but what I meant by that was that I can only use save states in between levels, so I don't have to worry about game overs and restarting the entire game. I am just not allowed to use them during a level. Next, I have to collect all 6 Chaos Emeralds, and if you're confused, in the first 2 8-bit Sonic games, the Chaos Emeralds are scattered throughout the levels. So to make this more challenging on myself, I have to collect them all, but after Sonic the Hedgehog 2 8-bit, this rule will take a 180, and finally, I cannot kill a Badnik. Now, what counts as a Badnik, you might ask? Well, if it is an enemy that I can defeat within one hit, then yes, it is a Badnik. Bosses do not count towards this rule, but enemies that appear during the bosses do. Without any further ado, gotta go fast! Green Hill Zone Act 1. Now this level was simple because it's the first level of the game and there are so fewer enemies than there would be on the Genesis version of the game. You just have to dodge some enemies here and there, but this act will be over quickly, and that is the first act cleared. Green Hill Zone Act 2. This time Sonic goes underground, and this level is also pretty short. The enemies were a little bit trickier to dodge, because sometimes you will be in the water, but time your jumps and get the first Chaos Emerald, and that's another act cleared. Green Hill Zone Act 3. Now for the Act 3s throughout the 8-bit games, it is just a boss level, and has no actual stage. There's like a mini stage beforehand, but I won't count it. So we make it to the first Robotnik, and his invention is... Did Robotnik even invent anything to try to kill Sonic? We easily defeat Robotnik, free the Flickies, and that is a zone cleared. Bridge Zone Act 1. Now that we are running across bridges, we do still have to avoid badniks, especially the badniks that have spikes on top of them. We run across the collapsing bridges and wait on one of them to get the second Chaos Emerald. One thing about this game that can get annoying is the fact that once you get hit, you lose all of your rings, and you will never see them again. But we clear this act, and we can move on. Bridge Zone Act 2. Alright, time to breeze through the I'm sorry, what the hell? Why is there an auto-scrolling level in a Sonic game? Other than that, the level was easy. Just jump from platform to platform while avoiding the badniks and falling into the pits, and that is another act cleared. Bridge Zone Act 3. Yet another boss level. Robotnik has a submarine, and this one was basically cleared in less than a minute. Yeah, so that's another zone cleared. I'm sorry if these level explanations are short, because I cannot do anything about them. They're just that short. Jungle Zone Act 1. Now, this is the first level where it took me more than 5 minutes to beat. Obviously, avoid the crab badniks and jump from vine to vine. The reason why this level took so long for me to beat was that I was going way too fast through the level. But take your time and get the Chaos Emerald with the log running thing, carefully jump over the chompers, and that is another level cleared. Jungle Zone Act 2. This level is one of, if not the only 2D Sonic level that I know of, that has Sonic going through a 90% vertical level. Now, the jumps are pretty annoying, considering if you fall, you will lose a life, which sucks. The badniks are just as easy to dodge as it always has been. And overall, this is a pretty simple level, and with that, that's another stage cleared. Jungle Zone Act 3. Once again, this is a boss level. This time Robotnik throws his steel balls at Sonic. Honestly, just spam the jump button, and that's another zone cleared. Labyrinth Zone Act 1. Oh god. Oh no. Oh It's that level that I really hated from the Genesis version. The water's pretty slow, and you have to go above the bubbles and avoid the traps. Oh boy, the traps. The traps were actually easy, and the bubbles are forgiving? Nah, this is not Labyrinth Zone, this is good Labyrinth Zone. Well, that can't be right. Wait, the level's already over? Labyrinth Zone Act 2. Well, this stage is similar to Act 1, just a bit longer. We get the invincibility shield, and we run through multiple layers of traps, and we get to the Chaos Emerald, which is in a pile of spikes. Yeah, not a great location for a Chaos Emerald, but oh well. And the stage is also over? This is just Labyrinth Zone, but good. Labyrinth Zone Act 3. Well, Pit's another boss level, in which I'm pretty sure you know where this is going. Robotnik must have really liked the whole submarine idea, and reused it, but made it more effective. Thankfully, it was easy, and that is another zone cleared. This is definitely the best Labyrinth Zone, because it is faster and actually not tedious. Scrap Brain Zone Act 1. Somehow Sonic managed to skip Starlight Zone and skip right on ahead to Scrap Rain. Avoid the traps and death pits, and what the hell? The stage is already over? I thought it would have been like 5 minutes longer than that. Scrap Brain Zone Act 2. Now this is what I call a long level. It is a puzzle level, but unfortunately there's not a lot of hazards to avoid, but rather the reason why this level took so long was because I'm a dumb idiot who has a crappily drawn Sonic OC. But after 5 minutes? Okay, that was longer than I expected. We get the Chaos Emerald in this room. We beat the level and solve that puzzle. Scrap Brain Zone Act 3. For the last time in this game, this is a boss level. I said this is a boss level. Where's the boss? Robotnik must be at the end of the stage, right? Ah, Robotnik. Let's finally settle this and get this game over with. Well, I guess there is still one more to go. Skybase Zone Act 1. Now, at this level, you have to avoid lightning, shockwaves, and badniks and death pits while on a launch base chasing down Robotnik, and this level is actually pretty cool. Avoid the bullets, and there are those enemies that appear in every 2D Sonic game. During this level, you have to ride on these lifts that will eventually take you to Robotnik's blimp, and that is another level cleared. Skybase Zone Act 2. Now this level has no rings, which is painful, because this level throws so many bullets at Sonic. You have to start the level by making a blind jump and then follow the left pattern to get the final Chaos Emerald, and then all you have to do is avoid the bullets and then enter the inside of the blimp, and that is another act clear. Skybase Zone Act 3. Here we are, the final Robotnik base. Just hit the glass to the left, dodge the lasers, and then repeat until Robotnik goes down. Robotnik then jumps to a teleporter, and Sonic follows him, and... where did Robotnik get the Eggmobile? Sonic then appears out of nowhere and then defeats Robotnik. The emeralds then glow and remove Scrap Brain from South Island, and that is the Sonic the Hedgehog on the Master System Ultimate Challenge. Now that we can answer the question, can you beat the Sonic the Hedgehog on Master System Ultimate Challenge? Yes! This game was actually pretty accessible when it comes to this challenge, and honestly, hot take, but I like this better than the Genesis version. Boo me all you want, I like this better than the Genesis. Anyways, let's start the Sonic the Hedgehog 2 on Master System Ultimate Challenge. That is, Kung Fu. This time, there are no checkpoints in this game, which is a step down from the first game, but let's just start anyway. Oh yeah, Tails gets kidnapped in this one. What a disappointing first entrance for this character. Underground Zone Act 1. Now this level starts with spikes falling down, and did Sonic flip through the walls? What is going on here? A good thing about this game that improved off of the first 8-bit game is that you can collect dropped rings, which is awesome. You also have to ride some minecarts and jump from them at the right time, which can prove to be quite tricky. And that is Act 1 done. Underground Zone Act 2. Now, this level has you starting off doing tight jumps to get to the higher part of the level, a ramp jump, and yet another minecart jump, and we get to the first Chaos Emerald, and that is basically the entire level. Underground Zone Act 3. Now, this level starts with Robotnik saving us? He would have just won if he let Sonic just die in the lava pit. Robotnik then throws his steel balls at this Kraken-looking creature, and after dodging steel balls, the Kraken dies, and that is a zone clear. Robotnik should have just let Sonic die. Sky High Zone Act 1. Now, to start off this level, you have to jump across or through spikes, roll through the level, and this enemy is thankfully hard to hit, which is pretty nice. Because Sonic is curled up into a ball and moving at fast speeds. And then we get to use the hang gliders, and I forgot how it controls, but I remember it being annoying, and that is another stage cleared. Sky High Zone Act 2. Now here you have to deal with the wind and some blind jumps. I wonder what other game had wind physics and blind jumps and is also 8-bit. And the cloud platforms are also inconsistent. Sometimes you will bounce off the clouds, and sometimes Sonic will just go through the clouds and fall to his death. And you have to perfectly use the glider and some guessing to where the cloud platforms will spring you up. And you can finally get that second Chaos Emerald and clear the stage. This took way longer than I wanted to in this stupid level. Sky High Zone Act 3. Now, we make it to a boss fight, and you have to fight basic enemies, and you can't do anything about it! You have to beat the enemies to fight the main boss! Thank gosh! I think this game was starting to spike in difficulty, which I can't tell because I never got to beat this game. But that was the Sonic the Hedgehog 2 on Master System Ultimate Challenge. Now that we have done this game, before it spikes up in difficulty, we can answer the question. Can you beat the Sonic the Hedgehog 2 on Master System Ultimate Challenge? No. And honestly, thank God, because from what I've heard about this game, it gets stupid hard near the end. Anyways, let's start the Sonic the Hedgehog Chaos Ultimate Challenge. This time, the Spin Dash makes an appearance, so I can't use Sonic's abilities. And we are back to not being allowed to collect Chaos Emeralds, as they are back to being used in special stages. And Tails is playable in this game, so we can only use Sonic. So without any further ado, let's let the chaos ensue. Turquoise Hill Zone Act 1. We are back to the grass stages being the first zone in the game. There are these ramps that force us to spin. This will be a problem, won't it be? And honestly, there are way too many springs throughout the stage, and it got annoying. I hope there are not any more annoying springs throughout the entire game. And that is another act complete. Turquoise Hill Zone Act 2. This is the same situation as Act 1. The springs are annoying as hell to avoid, and it feels as if everything else is just an empty void. And all you have to do is just hold right to beat the level. Is actually how it was. Turquoise Hill Zone Act 3. Now this boss starts with Sonic just rolling, and we've already killed the Moto Bug boss, and that is already an entire zone cleared, and I haven't been talking for more than a minute by my microphone. This game will be hard, right? Gigaopolis Zone Act 1. Now this level, you have to put some more thought into your actions. There are these platforms in which you have to run on top, and you have to jump before reaching the platforms to not fall down. The problem with that is that this game is running on a Game Gear, and I can't see anything, which makes this level so much harder than it needs to be. Then you just run forward, and oh, maybe this level is not too hard after all. Gigaopolis Zone Act 2. This stage managed to be much harder than the first act somehow. Just stay with the higher path and then jump from platform to platform, and then the level goes to the usual Sonic platforming segments, and this act is done faster than loading a Sonic 06 level. Gigaopolis Zone Act 3. Get some rings and just spam the jump button on the Caterpillar Big Boss, and that is already another zone cleared. Sleeping Egg Zone Act 1. Now this level introduces a new gimmick to the game, which are these springs that let Sonic bounce, and the platforms on this level are cheaper than paper straws, which if you know, you know. And just to make sure to make some jumps from platform to platform, and then the level's done pretty quickly. Sleeping Egg Zone Act 2. This level starts with Sonic using the spring, and then just run forward, and then making some Game Gear type platforming, and then this level is over. Just like that. You might think I'm exaggerating with how short these levels are, but I'm not. They're just that short. Sleeping Egg Zone Act 3. Get the rings, and we have to fight a bouncing robot while avoiding bullets. And it is pathetic, and that is basically another zone clear. Mecha Green Hill Zone Act 1. Green Hill is sure looking more like Mecha Green Hill. Yes, I know, that's a very unfunny joke, but oh well. Just make sure to jump during the right time while on these platforms, and the mechanics are just plain joke. You can skip part of the level just by jumping on them. And that is another stage clear. Mecha Green Hill Zone Act 2. The only thing I was able to comprehend from this level was to avoid the spikes and jump on the spring and jump on the right time on the platforms and and look at that, the level's already done. Mecha Green Hill Zone Act 3. Surprisingly, the obstacle course before this fight was harder than the actual fight itself. When you have rings, just hit the whatever the thing is, and just do it by the back, and that is yet another zone clear. Aqua Planet Zone Act 1. Okay, this is a water level. Now is your chance to make the game hard on me, please. Okay, you jump over enemies and they go into water, which makes traps and go through the water door things and... Oh, for fuck! Aqua Planet Zone Act 2. Now this act is basically the same as it was in Act 1, where you just have to avoid bandits, you gotta deal with the water, and maybe some more spike traps. You gotta be kidding me. The level's already over! Aqua Planet Zone Act 3. Now, you get rings through some weird obstacle, obscure method of no-clipping through the walls, and then just you fight a dome, and then what seems to be bandits don't count as bandits because they take more than 2 hits. So, they don't count as bandits in my book. And then just finish off the dome, and yeah, that's another zone clear. Okay, hopefully the next zone will pick up the pace. Electric Egg Zone Act 1. Alright, finally, we have a challenging level in this game. For some reason, when I play this level, I get hit by this laser, which you cannot destroy. We go through this tube within the upper path, and we now have to platform and avoid some more lasers. And then, we make it to the barrage of ring monitors. We have to do a precise jump, and jump to a specific location for one of those pipes, and then we have to jump back into the pipe and ride the minecart, and then jump, and then run forwards. And wait, this took me 20 minutes to do? Congratulations, game. A new record for this game stage is giving me trouble. But yep, that's another stage cleared. Electric Egg Zone Act 2. Alright. This is basically the final main level. It's gotta be epic, right? The level starts with the option to jump on top of the trampoline and then go onto another platform, run straight, land on another platform, run forward, and another platform, and then we are already at the end? I thought this level was gonna be more challenging than the first act. Electric Egg Zone Act 3. The final boss in this game. Here we are. This time Robotnik has a leg suit. Okay, considering all the other bosses in this game, this one should be pretty easy, right? Well, Robotnik decided to take 10 million grams of coffee and casually used his 300 IQ for once because the bullets are so tricky to dodge. Eventually, we take down the boss. I totally did not ignore one of my rules. And there's another phase? Well, thankfully, it was pretty short, and we beat Robotnik, and Robotnik gets away with one of the Chaos Emeralds, and now Sonic's just left to bite Robotnik's dust, which does not sound right, because he should be the one doing that, but oh well. That is the Sonic the Hedgehog Chaos Ultimate Challenge. Now that we can answer the question, can you beat the Sonic the Hedgehog Chaos Ultimate Challenge? Yes! This was actually my first time I beat this game, which is a surprise because this challenge was really easy until the final boss, which is pathetic. And the entire time I was playing this game, I just wanted a harder challenge, but the second the game kept telling me no until the last second. Maybe I was too harsh on this game. Moving on, let's start the Sonic the Hedgehog Triple Trouble Ultimate Challenge. This time, we are back to having checkpoints, which are useless, but oh well. Great Turquoise Zone Act 1. This level is your typical Sonic Grass level, just avoid the badniks and hold right, and that is an act that just so happens to be already completed. Great Turquoise Zone Act 2. Now this level starts with sloped hills and what is with the 8-bit Sonic games and their obsession with putting these springs everywhere. Sonic then skips on the water like a rock somehow, and the rest of the level just takes place underwater, and oh boy, look at that, the level's already done. Great Turquoise Zone Act 3. Now this boss was pretty interesting. You had to jump on the spring badniks, which do not hurt them, or you, and you had to launch Sonic at the turtle boss. After that, Knuckles has not learned his lesson in Sonic 3, somehow, and decides to turn this place into California. Sunset Park Zone Act 1. Go down the slope, avoid the spikes, and carefully avoid the mosquito enemies. Run right, and do a spin dash from Timu. And look at that, this is another short level. Sunset Park Zone Act 2. Sonic starts by sliding down with a lift and then jumps from it, and we get to the next few ring boxes, and we have to destroy an enemy to proceed. Yeah, out of all the 8-bit games, this was the one I was most interested in finishing for this video. Now that we can answer the question, can you beat the Sonic the Hedgehog Triple Trouble Ultimate Challenge? No. It was a shame, because I really wanted to finish this game for the first time. Anyways, let's start the Sonic Blast Ultimate Challenge. And the same rules apply, and my god, I am not excited for this one for obvious reasons. Green Hill Zone Act 1. Dang, Green Hill appeared in this game too? And people are now complaining that Green Hill's in everything? It was annoying to avoid the badniks and this level because they were placed horribly. And controlling this game feels weird and awkward, which is a bad sign for this game. Also, the ring boxes are placed in the worst possible places. And shortly after, this act is already finished. Green Hill Zone Act 2. This level's just as bad as the last one, only this time you can't escape the water. I tried multiple methods of escaping, but nothing would work. And, wait a minute. Sonic has a double jump in this game? So that means I have to use Sonic's ability in this game to complete the level. What if I just call it quits from here? Okay, I'm just gonna casually place down my copy of Sonic Blast. And now I just hope nothing bad happens to it. Alright, can you beat the Sonic Blast Ultimate Challenge? No. No, you cannot. Let's move on to the Genesis games. Sorry if it was disappointing. There just wasn't much to share here, which is why I've included the 8-bit games into this compilation. So, hope you enjoyed the Genesis games more. This version of the Genesis games I will be using is the Sonic Origins version of the game, due to the quality of life improvements. But here are the 7 Chaos rules. I can only play as Sonic. I have to use mirror mode to mess with my level memory. I can't collect any of the Chaos Emeralds or Time Stones. I can't use any of Sonic's abilities. This includes drop dashing and spin dashing. However, after Sonic the Hedgehog 2, I will be allowed to use the spin dash because it is impossible to beat Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles without the spin dash. So I will allow it in those games. On the topic of no abilities, if I get a elemental shield, I can still use the elemental shield as a shield. However, I can't double jump, bounce, or charge with them. I can't have another character following me, which is probably for the better. No checkpoints. I can still touch them. However, if I screw up a level, I have to entirely restart the level. And finally, I cannot kill a badnik. Now, what counts as a badnik, you might ask? Well, if it's an enemy that I can defeat within one hit, then yes, it is a badnik. Bosses do not count towards this rule, and here are some minor ones. If I accidentally enter a special stage, I have to get out immediately. And the most painful role of them all is during the Sonic 3 portion of the game. I have to listen to the Sonic Origins version of Carnival Night, Icecap, and Launch Base. So to combat this, to you the viewer, I will mix the prototype and Pop King's version of the song during that time. Without any further ado, here is the classic Sonic the Hedgehog Ultimate Challenge.
Green Hill Zone Act 1. Green Hill is, well, Green Hill. It took some time to get used to the fact that I'm going the other way, but it's not too bad. As for collecting Chaos Emeralds, those are useless in this game. And Sonic 1 came out before the Spin Dash became mainstream. And no checkpoints are not going to be that bad. As for killing a badnik, I have to be a little slower so I don't accidentally kill a badnik. This tube in particular is a little frustrating to deal with, and the neutrons are the most frustrating enemy in the zone. And those stupid flying badniks come out of nowhere. The crab meats are not much better. They have terrible spawn placements, so one recommendation is not to take the high path. But this act will be over quickly. But this act will quickly be over before it begins. Green Hill Zone Act 2. Now be a little more careful in this level because of the death pits, and more enemies, and some tight platforming. I will advise you to take the middle path this time. There are fewer enemies and more rewards. And the invincibility in this challenge sucks. You will want to be careful around vulnerable enemies. But this spike section is not too hard. And that is another level cleared. Green Hill Zone Act 3. Now here, I recommend taking the higher route. The tunnels can be scary because you have to be spinning while going down them. And you have no idea if you're gonna hit an enemy or not. But once you get to Robotnik, then this level's basically done. Just hit Robotnik a few times and he is down. This challenge is doing great. Maybe this should be another one of the does not deserve its own video series. Okay, take that back. Marble Zone Act 1. Now the zones after Green Hill are just mediocre at best. Here you have to be careful because of these caterpillars. And the reason why is because if you land in the middle of them, they will fall apart. Now, I will not count this as killing a badnik. If an animal drops out and it gives me points, then and only then does it count as a killing badnik. Other than that, that's another stage cleared. Marble Zone Act 2. Marble Zone as a whole is just waiting, and more waiting. And it's just overall not fun. Even with these platforms that just move up and down. And that is some very patient lava. The bat badniks are really annoying because you have to time when you jump very well, and then you don't have to worry about accidentally killing a badnik. Thankfully, you don't have to worry about killing a badnik during breaking these bricks. And that's another act cleared. Okay, why is Act 3 always the worst act? Marble Zone Act 3. This act is not fun, since I can't use checkpoints as checkpoints. It makes the level much worse. The caterpillars are slow as always, the lava platforms are boring, and the timing for the bats makes me want to rip my hair off. Hope there aren't any more terrible badniks in this game. The worst part about the bats with the weight platforms is you have to carefully plan out your next move or else you will kill the bat badniks. But not too slow to the point where you will be crushed by the weight platforms, but not too fast to the point where you might get hit by spikes and fall all the way back down and have to try again, but with fewer rings. It was not fun. And the next boss was pretty easy. Took down Robotnik in no time, and that's another zone finally cleared. Springyard Zone Act 1. Okay, now we have a zone that is not too bad. Here you actually go fast. Sure, there are terrible crab meat placements, but that's not gonna change the fact that this zone is much better than Marble Zone. The only annoying thing are those stupid armadillo enemies. They just appear out of nowhere. But just be cautious for when they appear, and that's another stage cleared. Springyard Zone Act 2. Avoid the spike balls that just so happen to be spinning around at the speed of sound and sometimes very slow. Now you can just turn off your brain with these types of platforming sections. But overall, this is not a very interesting level. And obviously, that's another level cleared. Now, this was not intended to be in the script, but silly soft locked. Springyard Zone Act 3. Now, like the last act, you can turn off your brain with these sections, avoid the spike balls, be careful around enemies, be patient, collect rings, go to the lower path, avoid the armadillo enemies, and you will make it to the boss. And once again, it's not that interesting. Maybe it does deserve a spot in the does not deserve its own video series. Unless if there's a level that is so ridiculous, it's just so bad to the point where... Okay, Labyrinth. Labyrinth Zone Act 1. This act introduces water. And as you know, water is Sonic's greatest enemy. But even the water, the thing that slows Sonic down and is very stressful to keep Sonic alive, even with a supply of air bubbles. And the worst enemy in this entire challenge are this enemy. It's apparently called a Burrowbot. Okay, the Burrowbots. Go burn in hell. These enemies jump when you get close to them, and they can jump randomly, and one incorrect input and you have to restart the level. And to make things worse, because we have to move slower in this challenge, this means that the water levels in this game will be hell. And I do not want to go to the normal route, so I decided to take some time to execute the top route. But even then, there's a crap ton of enemies, and I could not do anything about it. But that is just one act of 3 cleared. Labyrinth Zone Act 2. Now this act is not any better. There is not really a secret route. You just have to hope that where you're going is the quickest route. And there's a lot of the burrow bots, which makes me want to strangle them even more. However, there is a little secret if you correctly approach them. Then time it, then they will not bother you, which will take some time to get used to. The water in this level is just stressful as always, and the chompers underwater force you to carefully plan out your next move, or you will kill them. And this is made even worse because of the lack of checkpoints, and it is just not fun. Be careful at the end, and that is another act cleared. Labyrinth Zone Act 3. Now this is the worst one out of the Labyrinth acts, and the lack of checkpoints makes me cry. The same enemy kept screwing me over and over again. The water does not make it any better than usual, and the spike ball enemies require patience. But what separates the other two acts to this one is the final stretch of this level. The burrow bots appear when you are trying to climb this wall, and it is difficult to avoid them. And you thought that was bad? Wait until you get to the boss. You have to be careful because if you die, you have to start over this level. But you can't wait too long because the water will catch up to you and you will drown. But after many tries, I finally beat this boss and the stupid zone. Thank gosh. I do not want to do Labyrinth Zone again. Finally, a zone that is not Labyrinth Zone. Starlight Zone Act 1. This zone has very chill vibes. The lack of checkpoints is not a big deal, and the enemies are hard to kill, so this feels like a normal playthrough. Just be a little careful, and this stage is already done. Starlight Zone Act 2. Sure, the fans are annoying, but it's still better than Labyrinth Zone. The seesaw platforms are fine, and the enemies once again are hard to kill. Those being the spike balls, badniks, and the bombs, which commit suicide. So I don't count this as killing a badnik, but just like that, this act is already done! Starlight Zone Act 3. Just like the last two acts, it's a breather level from Labyrinth. Now here, the seesaws are more used to their advantage. You can't really kill any enemies, and it is just chill. We are already at the boss, take down Robotnik, and this zone is already over? Guess when you have a fun time, time goes faster. Oh well. Let's just move on to Scrap Brain Zone. Scrap Brain Zone Act 1. Here we are, the final zone in the game. Now every challenge throughout this journey has led up to this point. Most of the badniks will be in this level, and whatever you do, do not take the lowest path. Once you get to the end, you can't pass this ball hog. So be precise with your platforming, and plan your jumps, get the items you can, and be careful, so you can maintain the high ground, and you will not interact with many enemies. And once that is done, you just have to platform more until you make it to the end. Just avoid badniks, and that's another act cleared. Scrap Brain Zone Act 2. Now that we are in the depths of Scrap Brain Zone, be very careful. Thankfully, there are not many badniks here, but you can easily move around and avoid the walls and saws while on a conveyor belt. And just really try not to die, because it's not that fun to repeat the act. But overall, it was not that bad, and we made it to the goal. Now that we have approached Robotnik, he pushes a button and sends us to the abyss. I am so excited. Oh, come on! Dr. Ivo Robotnik, you evil son of a... Labyrinth Zone Act 4, also known as Scrap Brain Zone Act 3. Now I have no time for another Labyrinth level, so I'm taking the shortcut, and it helps, especially with this challenge. And once again, my greatest enemy in this challenge emerges once again. Water. Sure, it was a struggle to deal with the not-so-long breath time and the immense slowdown, but there emerges another enemy, one so evil, one so vile, and does not care, and that is the Burrobots. I grabbed my rings and climbed this final wall, only to see our last challenge, the last Burrobot. This will be the greatest battle of all. Huh. Oh well, at least I cleared this stupid act. Final Zone! Now this is really the final battle between good versus evil. This will be the hardest part of our journey. And just like that, we have defeated Dr. Robotnik, and we kicked his Eggmobile one last time, and Sonic runs back to Green Hill Zone and celebrates. Oh yeah, Robotnik has the emeralds. Oh well, they just spawn to Sonic in the very next cutscene anyways. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Sonic the Hedgehog Ultimate Challenge.
Now that we have finished Sonic the Hedgehog, we can answer the question. Can you beat the Sonic the Hedgehog Ultimate Challenge? Yes! Out of all the games, Sonic 1 was the most boring to do with this challenge with, and I do not recommend it all too much. Sonic then runs off to find his plane, and we can start the Sonic CD Ultimate Challenge.
Wait, hold on. There we go. Sonic is off on another one of his adventures to stop Robotnik and finds a planet called Little Planet, chained to a rock shaped like Robotnik. So obviously Sonic has to head up to Little Planet to stop Robotnik from taking over the planet. The little one. Okay, we got that cleared up. Palmtree Panic Zone 1. Now do be cautious, because once you launch up onto the ramp, go as close to the ramp as you can, because you might accidentally hit an enemy. And be mindful of your surroundings. Sure, you might accidentally time travel to the past or future, but just don't hit a badnik, and you will make it to the end of the stage. Palmtree Panic Zone 2. Thankfully, most of the levels in Sonic CD are rather short, and the lack of the ability to use checkpoints, it's really not that bad. There are a lot more of the flying badniks, and they blend in with the environment quite well, so do keep an eye for that. And don't go too far when using the tunnels. You are curled up into a ball, which is Sonic's most dangerous state in this challenge. I really hope that we don't have to be in ball forms for some bit of the level in the later levels, but I doubt that. And that is another level cleared. Palmtree Panic Zone 3. Now, all the Zone 3s in this game are boss levels, and there are a few enemies here and there, but oh no! There is a boss! Whatever will I do? Well, that was easy, and that is another zone cleared. Collision Chaos Zone 1. This stage starts off with Amy being Amy, then suddenly, Metal Sonic comes out of nowhere and kidnaps Amy. So now we have to save Amy and stop Dr. Robotnik's plans. This stage is more themed around pinball mechanics. See where this is going? I swear, the level designers were onto something. Not in a good way. The Badniks were not too annoying, unlike some of the other specific stages where they make me want to rip my hair out. There is also one section where you have to go to the past to access a right now blocked path. But overall, it's all fun and games, and towards the end, the bumper and springs were not well placed. And we zoom to the exit, and that is another level cleared. Collision Chaos Zone 2. The glittering bugs are there. I don't know what their purpose is, but they certainly exist. The crystal balls were scary because I am worried that I would hit an enemy and have to restart the stage. The slopes with the Mantis Badniks were really not that great. Pinball bumpers are certainly something, and like the previous zone, the springs and bumpers near the end were not well thought out of. And we zoom to the exit, and that is another stage cleared. Collision Chaos Zone 3. Thankfully there are no enemies in sight, but once we reach Dr. Robotnik, we play a game of pinball, and time the jumps, and it's already done. On to the next zone. Hopefully it's not a water level. Tidal Tempest Zone 1. Hey, at least they could have pulled a Labyrinth. In this zone, you can actually avoid the water. The water in this level is not too bad because the air bubbles are much easier to collect, but there are a few flying and swimming badniks here and there, and a few traps. But after a little bit, the level's already done. Tidal Tempest Zone 2. This zone was a little harder than the first. There are a few flying and swimming badniks that you can accidentally hit. I recommend going to the middle route and grabbing the future post to go back to the future. Then go to the bottom route and go on this rising platform and clear yet another water level. I guess the water levels are not that bad in this game. Tidal Tempest Zone 3. Yet another boss level, without an enemy. All you really have to do is beat up Robotnik, and do it again, but gulping up bubble airs. And that is another zone cleared. Quartz Quadrant Zone 1. Now here, there is a lot of time travel posts. And this presents us with a new problem, pun not intended. When you have collected a time travel post and you reach enough speed, Sonic will be able to kill any badnik that gets in his way. And this means that we have to be extra careful whenever we hit the time travel posts. So what I would recommend is going to the future with the beginning, future post, then clear the level that way. And with that, that is another zone cleared. Quartz Quadrant Zone 2. Like the last zone, do be careful when you have the time travel posts, because there are a lot of enemies in this level. There are the conveyor belts, which I don't really know how to feel about them. And the caterpillars are not as annoying as they were in Sonic 1. And that's all I can really describe in this level. And that is another stage cleared. Quartz Quadrant Zone 3. Now, although there's no enemies in this level, this is one of 2 levels I struggled with without abilities. Robotnik made a conveyor belt, and once Sonic hits him, Robotnik is now sanding his own machine. And the bombs were made into a problem because I can't instantly gain speed. And I can't spin dash and peel out, so I can't instantly gain speed. I have to gradually get speed to keep up the sanding. And then we get far enough to the point where Robotnik can't handle it anymore, and he has to abandon his machine. And that is another zone complete. Dang, this challenge is not too bad. Hope there isn't a level where it sucks my ass. Okay, who the thought this stage was a good idea? Wacky Workbench Zone 1. Also through my eyes is the Labyrinth Zone CD. Now, why am I bashing on what seems to be a normal level? Well, just take a look for a second. Yeah, that's gonna be a problem. Because bouncing is basically this entire level's thing, so you have to carefully deal with a level like this. Well, there is one strategy that I like to use, other than praying for your life. First, always stay on the platforms. If you by any chance fall off, you are very likely to hit an enemy. The ice laser really sucks. You have to be very careful around it, and if you screw up the run, you have to start all over. But after 10 minutes, I beat Zone 1. So the next one should be not that bad, right? Wacky Workbench Zone 2. This stage, this concept, the level design. This is the longest I spent on a level with these challenge rules. To make things worse than the previous zone, there are these rotating poles that you have to time when you launch and when you are constantly in ball form. So what? You can just take the lower path, right? Well, guess what? Would you rather play chance of hitting an enemy by ground or play chance by hitting an enemy on pole? Well, you have to do the poles because there are not very many platforms that bounce like in Zone 1. And to add salt to the wound, you have to avoid flying badniks, and you don't know where they are. You just have to hope that you don't kill an enemy or you restart the entire stage. And the other time periods layouts don't do good either. You still have to use the poles, and I spent way too long on this level, and I'm just tired of this level. I took too many routes, and even then, the enemies kept screwing me over and over. And without the super peel out, I can't skip some of these sections. So after 50 long minutes, I finally got lucky and beat the stage. Wacky Workbench, this level sucks. Enough said. Wacky Workbench Zone 3. Okay, I am absolutely done with this frickin' zone. Thankfully, there are no enemies, which, thank gosh, I hated doing that in the last 2 zones. Robotnik uses the floor to bounce platforms, and that's another boss done. And we beat this zone. I might say that this is just as, if not worse than Labyrinth Zone. Wacky Workbench. Finally, a zone where I can rest on. Stardust Speedway Zone 1. My only problem with this zone is you have to be very careful whenever you go through tunnels in the Speedway. and you will curl up into a ball and possibly hit an enemy. That did not happen to me as much as I thought. Just be careful with these ghost-looking enemies. Although this zone has some wacky design, this level is already cleared. Stardust Speedway Zone 2. My biggest struggle with this level were the light bulb enemies. Just hope that they don't cause a problem in the later few levels. Like last level, this level design is wacky, and the tunnels were scary, you actually go fast, and that is another level cleared. Stardust Speedway Zone 3. Like Quartz Quadrant Zone 3, I struggled without the super peel out and the drop dash and the spin dash. This time we are racing against Metal Sonic, while Robotnik has an instant death laser that he so happens to never use again. And during the race, you have to avoid Metal Sonic's attacks while jumping over ledges and spikes. But finally, we beat Metal Sonic and save Amy. And that is Stardust Speedway cleared. Metallic Madness Zone 1. Here we are, the final stretch of the game. While not being as challenging as Wacky Workbench, this level is still difficult and has a lot of stuff going on throughout the level. The solid enemies are simple to avoid, and this spiky thing gets me every time. And I was tricked into thinking that these were spike platforms that would launch me up. Spoiler alert, they don't. But this level feels more like Scrap Brain Zone than anything else. And, oh, this level's already done. Metallic Madness Zone 2. Now this is the longest level in the game. And I was right. This is just basically Scrap Brain Zone. Now after wasting a few minutes screwing around, even though when I should be going vertical, I spent a few minutes not knowing what I should be doing. And this platform should be going faster if it were to launch Sonic that far. One quick time travel later, I finally get my stuff together and got up. Now, I'm not going to be counting this bomb as a kill because I am not the reason for its demise. And after avoiding the enemies, we make it to the mini Sonic section. From this point on, there are no major enemies. And just avoid being crushed into oblivion, avoid Spike Tetris? I don't know how to describe it. And that is our final non-boss level complete. Nothing can go wrong with this challenge. Metallic Madness Zone 3. Alright, the final level. The moment we have all been waiting for. The final. Wait a second. Something is not right. Okay, sure, there's one Badnik on the top route, but you can easily dodge it. Well, let's just say that there is a required gauntlet of enemies right near the final Robotnik fight. So that means we can't pass because we have to kill 3 Badniks. We can't clip out because we are not in the original version of the game, and I'm not sure if we can even activate the boss if we clip. So unfortunately, we were so close, yet so far.
Well, it is time to answer the question. Can you beat the Sonic CD Ultimate Challenge? Unfortunately, no. If it weren't for those darn light bulb enemies, this challenge would have been possible, but oh well. You can't win every time. So let's skip to the Sonic Hedgehog 2 Ultimate Challenge.
Emerald Hill Zone Act 1. So basically, like every first level in the classic Sonic games, it will always be simple. And is that coconuts from the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog? Here, all you really have to do is avoid the chompers and the flying badniks, go through loops and corkscrews, and not even a minute in, and that's an act cleared. Emerald Hill Zone Act 2. Like the previous level, there's not much going on. Damage boost if you have to, avoid the badniks, go through loops, and we make it to the first boss. Dr. Robotnik uses this car, and it's a really easy fight, and that is a zone cleared. Pretty simple so far. Chemical Plant Zone Act 1. Now, this level is not too bad. However, be very careful around the grabbers. If they catch you, you will kill them. So make sure to carefully avoid them. As for the level obstacles, it's simple. Just make sure to carefully maneuver Sonic around the spinies, then go fast, go down a pipe, and all of a sudden this level's already over. Huh. Chemical Plant Zone Act 2. Now, like the last level, avoid the grabbers and the spinies and go fast, go through the pipes, then we make it to the actual chemical escape. Now, be very careful because you might drown, and nobody likes that. But just try not to die, and we make it to the boss of this level. Hey look, platforms that can dump you to your death. This must be a very hard boss, right? Okay, never mind. Other than that, that's another zone cleared. Aquatic Ruin Zone Act 1. Now this is our water level, and thankfully it does not pull a labyrinth, which is very helpful. You can be on land on the higher platforms, or possibly drown in the lower paths. The badniks are as annoying as always. The pillars make me mad for no reason. And is that Grounder from the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog? And as soon as that, this level's already over. Aquatic Ruin Zone Act 2. Now this time I chose to take the higher route because I do not want to be in water and deal with the enemies. And those stupid pillars. The Robotnik spikes don't get much good either. So I went to the platforms, got annoyed by the bug badniks, and we made it to the boss of this zone, and it was easy. Surprised! And that is another zone cleared. When will these levels get harder? Casino Night Zone Act 1. Okay, I have zero memory of encountering a badnik in this entire level. Heck, I even checked the footage, and oh my gosh, I did not encounter a single badnik in this level. I have no idea how that happened, but it just did. Not having the spin dash was really painful in this level because of the slopes. I had to gradually gain speed to get anywhere. After a few moments of underage gambling, we make it to the end of the level. Casino Night Zone Act 2. Finally, I have encountered one single enemy. I checked the footage again, and I have not seen any more than that one enemy. Meaning that the only thing you have to worry about is being crushed. So just play it normal, minus the spin dash. We make it to the boss, then go to the left, jump, go to the right, jump. Do that 4 more times, and that is another zone cleared. Yeah, this challenge seems like it can't get harder. Yep, I was right. Hilltop Zone Act 1. The bandits in this level were really easy to avoid, and the stage hazards, no problem. The loops scared me for a second, but you can just jump into them. Use the sentient balls as platforms, and still keeping your guard up, and that is another stage cleared. Hilltop Zone Act 2. Like the last act, there is not much to say here. Avoid these fire bandits, use these swings, avoid the lava, you know the jazz. And okay, who put these springs here? Destroy Robotnik, and that is another zone complete. Hopefully this challenge does get harder. An actually challenging level? Thank gosh! Mystic Cave Zone Act 1. Now you had to worry about a lot more things in this level, like this rock crusher, this box, spikes, and the enemies were a fun challenge. This section scared me, and who put these springs here? And the Carlton will have you watching your back at all times. And overall, I had a fun time at this level, and this act is complete. Dang, what a good challenging level! Mystic Cave Zone Act 2. Now, this act deserves the same praise as the last act, and I will praise it again. There's a Newton's Cradle platform, which is really cool. The rock crushers kept me on my toes, the bandits were challenging, and oh, I almost fell into the spikes down here. And after enjoying that amazing level, we make it to the boss, and it was very easy, as usual. But that's another zone cleared. But wait, Sonic has accidentally destroyed a bandit, so now he has to restart the stage. Which is fine, because it's a fun stage, and oh no! I have fell into the spike pit. What am I gonna do? Hidden Palace Zone. This level was by far the best level with this challenge. The water is fair, and the bandits were fun. And I have wanted to take the higher route so that I can avoid the enemies. And uh-oh. Knuckles is gonna be mad. After this amazing level, we make it to the hardest normal boss in the game. After defeating Robotnik by him using a tuba that summons a bomb, that is another great zone cleared. Now, you might say, well, try Prologue Zone. Okay, wait a minute. It does not work. Oh well. Oil Ocean Zone Act 1. This zone was alright, but still being challenging. The octopus bandits were tricky to get around, the jumping platforms were alright, the seahorse bandits are not that bad, and the oil slides are kinda dangerous. Let's just hope that someone does not pull out fire. The pipe scared me because I was worried that I might hit a bandit, but that simply was not the case. And that is another act cleared. Oil Ocean Zone Act 2. Now whatever you do, do not try to cheese this level by swimming in the oil. That never ends well. Like the last act, this is not too different. So as usual, jump onto the platforms, avoid spikes, push these weird springs to go fast, go through these pipes, or whatever, avoid the bandits, and we made it to our next boss, and oh gosh, this place is gonna burn down! Wait, nothing happened. This is wrong. And that is another zone complete. Let's hope the next one is not so Metropolis Zone Act 1. You really thought that this was gonna be a wacky workbench or the labyrinth type of situation? But out of these 3 zones, this one is the easiest. No one likes the Badniks in this level because they are buttholes. But the Star Badniks does not count as a kill because it kills itself. And damage boosting is really helpful in this level. The Mantis Badnik is just cruel. The spikes suck, the big crabs make me want to punch them back, and sooner or later this act is already done. Thank gosh. Metropolis Zone Act 2. The lava is not that great and gaining speed is as tedious as always. The Badniks suck, you get the deal. The nuts were satisfying though. The licks are there, and I do not have very much to say about this level. And now we are at the boss? Oh well, at least this zone is over. Metropolis Zone Act 3! They really did not have to pull a Sonic one on us. Like the previous 2 acts, the gears are really there. Avoid the spikes and the Badniks, damage boosting helps. These steam things are something, and yeah, there's not much to say about this level. And we made it to the boss of this level. Before doing that, be patient with the platforms. No one wants to restart this act. Robotnik uses the robot stuff and many Robotniks. And no, this does not count as a Badnik because it does not give me points or an animal. And this dreadful zone will finally be over. Thank gosh! Skybase Zone. After that pain of a zone that was Metropolis, this one is an auto-scroller where Tails is flying Sonic to Robotnik's base, and that's a little challenging. And make sure not to spin, that might kill a Badnik, and there are a lot of Badniks in this level. So do be careful. Damage boosting was the best strategy for the level. It was reliable, and come to think of it, it's a good thing that we're not defeating a Badnik, because the animal inside the Badnik will die by falling to their death. We see the Wing Fortress pass by, and we make it to the final part of this zone. Avoid more of the Badniks, and that's another level cleared. Wing Fortress Zone. Here we are, the final major level in this game, and it's challenging. Thank gosh. The tornado has been shot down, and now Tails has gone down with the tornado, and now Sonic has to traverse this airship. Hey, is that Scratch from the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog? Now we have to do the pole jump to get anywhere in this level, and I have no idea why the fire is not burning Sonic. But oh well. We do a speedrun strat, and we don't have to deal with that many Badniks after this. Go through the hooks, and we make it to the boss. And that's it. Tails comes back, and dang, Sonic has really strong arms. He's able to hold onto a rocket ship without falling off. And we are now in space. Let's head to the Death Egg. Here we are. The final zone in the game. Death Egg Zone. We quickly encounter... Wait, hold on. Well, that was helpful. Mecha Sonic Mark 1. My biggest tip is to be patient. Don't be like me and try to quickly defeat it. And that is the first phase done. Robotnik shows off his super speed and jumps into the Death Egg Rogue Robot. And the real final battle begins. Now this fight shall be legendary. So epic. So awesome. Yeah, that was kinda easy. And with that, Sonic escapes the Death Egg, Tails sees us, and saves Sonic, and Sonic jumps off the plane. He should know that he's gonna fall off. Oh yeah, Eggman has the emeralds. Oh well, they appear with Sonic in the very next cutscene. And that, my friends, is the Sonic the Hedgehog 2 Ultimate Challenge.
Now that we have finished Sonic the Hedgehog 2, we can answer the question. Can you beat the Sonic the Hedgehog 2 Ultimate Challenge? Yes! Weirdly enough, this was a breeze to get through, which is a surprise to me because I thought this one was going to be one of the harder games, but oh well. Sonic and Tails then fly off to Angel Island to investigate what Robotnik is doing, and we can now start the Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles Ultimate Challenge.
We start out our adventure about right after Sonic 2. Sonic and Tails are now heading to Angel Island to stop Dr. Robotnik from succeeding in his plans to put back together the Death Egg. For some reason, Sonic has all the Chaos Emeralds, even though we did not collect them in Sonic 2. And suddenly, Knuckles punches Sonic out of his super form somehow, and takes the emeralds. It's fine, we don't need them anyway. Angel Island Zone Act 1. Now this is a very easy level. The Badniks were in fair places, and it was a fun time. And then the mini-boss said screw it and decided to turn the place into California. Now that the place is burning and Knuckles has no problem with that, the rest of the stage is not too bad. Just carefully traverse through the stage, and we make it to our first mini-boss, and it was easy. Oh well. Angel Island Zone Act 2. Now the difficulty has buffed up. Not to the point where I have to retry the stage over and over again, but it was challenging. Now you are pressured into using the spin dash, but that's not the main reason why I'm now allowed to use the spin dash. There are more platforming sections, which is not too bad until you realize that the Badniks exist. The lack of checkpoints still makes me cry, and you have to pray if you're falling in ball form. But like the previous act, there's not too much to the zone. We encounter what I think is the flying battery, and we make it to the first Robotnik fight, and it was not too bad, and we beat this act. But unfortunately, Knuckles has to ruin our day and sends us to... Okay. This is the moment most of you have been waiting for. Me pronouncing the water level from Sonic 3. It's freaking Hydrocity! It's not Hydrocity. It's Hydrocity. Hell, most of the voters agreed that this is the way to pronounce Hydrocity. It is a literal city full of water. Okay, Hydrocity Zone Act 1. Now this zone is basically a sudden difficulty spike. The part with the poles are not too bad, however it starts getting challenging once you go to the bottom route. You will find out that you can't get past it because you have to kill one of the Badniks to get across. So take the high route instead, And even then, this path is difficult. Be careful when jumping from here, because no one wants to hit a badnik. Make sure to grab a bubble shield, because the next few parts will take place underwater, and it's painful. These chomper badniks can go kiss my ass. You have to carefully traverse the conveyor belts, and if you lose the bubble shield, you might drown in the next part. Once down the tube, after you hit the second spring, to avoid this badnik and the pufferfish badniks, then carefully charge a spin dash and carefully go to the conveyor belt and avoid the pufferfish, and if you need to, gulp up a bubble while you're at it. Then just have to avoid 2 more badniks, and finally you are at the boss, and thankfully it's pretty simple. And that is the first act of Hydrocity cleared. Hydrocity Zone Act 2. Now here, you are required to use the spin dash. You can't gain any speed underwater, and that is why I'm completely allowing the spin dash for this game and the and Knuckles portion. So after avoiding this wall, you have to use the scariest platform in this level. These cylinder-looking platforms. And they can crush you. Although in terms of badniks, this one is not as bad as the first, but still be careful. These sharks always screwed me up, so go down, and once the first one is done, carefully move around the area. Avoid these crabs, and spin dash down this loop, and don't worry about the slide sections. You will go flying out in ball form, but you will always have a way to avoid a badnik, so it's not too bad. This motor crab part with the cylinders scared me, but be careful and you will make it to running on water section number 1. After a little bit, you'll have to be a little careful on this slide and go up the square platforms carefully, and once you make it to the bridge section, you are almost there. Take a few more cylinder platforms, take another water running slide, and Knuckles will troll us again, and we make it to this zone's Robotnik boss. And it's not too hard. Hit Robotnik a few times, and this zone will finally be over. Hope the next zone is not a maze. Marble Garden Zone Act 1. Somehow, Marble Garden is not so much of a maze as it used to be to me. Surprising because it's mirror mode of all things. The spin dash is required to get this wheel moving, and this spike badnik is oddly helpful in the zone. You can bounce on them, so it makes it like a weak spring. The spike ball chain sucks. This top spinner thing is weird but helpful. It thankfully stops you when you hit a badnik and does not automatically kill the badnik. This spike pillar is alright, and overall this level is easier than expected. It is surprising considering my previous experiences. And the mini boss is easy as always, and yet that is another act cleared. Marble Garden Zone Act 2. Now immediately you have to spin dash to use these pull things, and Robotnik appears to destroy the terrain, and we make it to the higher path, and it's not too different from the lower path. You still have to use these top things, and it's annoying to traverse with a thing. The badniks were easy to dodge, and we meet the most reliable badniks in this challenge, the grasshoppers. The grasshoppers just let Sonic by, which is very nice of them, considering how much pain I'm going through with this challenge. Spin on the wheels, go down the corkscrew, go platform, while avoiding the spike badniks. And these statues don't count as a badnik because they don't die in one hit, and they don't get points, nor an animal, so it does not count. We make it to another Robotnik encounter, and we quickly make it through the platforms. If they crush you, you have to restart the stage, and it's not fun. Avoid some more badniks, and we make it to the Robotnik fight. And Tails assists us, and no, this does not count as using a partner. and we defeat Robotnik, and that is another boss cleared. And thus, we completed Marble Garden. Let's head to the next zone. Oh gosh! Ah! What is this music? Got it. Hold it in. I'm gonna play the better music for you guys. You're welcome. Carnival Night Zone Act 1. Now immediately, this level is another bumper chaos level. It's not too bad, other than hearing the Origins version of the music. These bats are very annoying. They just do not care. They do whatever they want, and who put these springs here? Damage boosting helps in the stage, considering there are a lot of risks involved. There are these scrap brain wheels, and a few more bumpers here and there. This spike enemy can easily be avoided, and uh-oh. What am I gonna do? Okay, that is the one thing this Badnik does right. And we have already made it to the boss, and after easily killing it, Act 1 is cleared. Carnival Night Zone Act 2. Now, at this point, every Sonic 3 stage that has an Act 2 has to be slightly a water level, or have water present. After accidentally going through a bonus stage, this tube made me realize I was going the wrong way. Shoot out of a cannon, these laser badniks are not fun to deal with, and the bat badniks suck, as always, and we get launched by bumpers, and oh no! Knuckles! Don't! Wait, he just turned off the lights. It shouldn't be that crap. He also raised the water level. Oh hey, a barrel! Hope that does not cause problems later. After dealing with water, more badniks, and more obstacles, we finally turn back on the lights, and there's another required spin dash. After popping a few more balloons. Wait. No! It can't be! The Barrel of Doom! The fabled legend. Let me just jump in. Okay, how am I supposed to do this? Oh wait, I can't read Japanese. Dang, Europe, you have the most boring one of them all. Okay, North America, you're my last hope. Well, that was no help. Okay, maybe Google will help me. Wait, did they just use the D-pad? So after figuring out how to bypass the most impossible obstacle ever, we have to avoid a few more badniks, and we make it to Knuckles. He sends us to the boss, and the Robotnik fight was obviously not that hard, and that is another zone cleared. We launched out of the cannon, and now we're on to the next zone. Icecap Zone Act 1. Jeez, they really massacred this zone's music too. This zone starts off with Sonic snowboarding, and while it has nothing to do with the gameplay, it does look cool. After another required spin dash, I accidentally fell and hit the special stage ring, and I exited out immediately. The crushing platforms in the zone are a bit scary. The penguin badniks were annoying, but not to the point where I want to rip my hair out. This section was a bit annoying because I had a skill issue. After a few more times, I finally made it up, and one sliding section later, and we're already at the mini-boss. And that is another Act 1 cleared. Icecap Zone Act 2. Now this act was mildly harder than the previous act. You have to avoid the spike ball enemies that have been appearing since the last Sonic games. The frozen block sucks. The penguin badniks were hard. The icicle platforms were tedious. These launch up springs are simple to use. Just don't accidentally fall off and hit a badnik, because that is what happened to me. And we are already at the Robotnik fight. And after being frozen a few more times, we beat the zone. And now it's time to move on to the final zone of the game. Launch Base Zone Act 1. Let me complain about the Origins version of the music one more time. It sucks. And here we go. We are finally at the final level, and in terms of difficulty, this does not disappoint. The frogs will be one of my biggest enemies in this level. Zip lines are fun. The platform thing is there, and I know this is not 2020 anymore, and it's cringe now, but I have to say it. Apparently, these lasers have animals inside of them. I have no idea how that works, but oh well. Damage boosting in this level is your best bet on getting anywhere. After a slow slope, we make it to some spikes with some more spikes. A troll spring, a crusher, which is not too bad, and although you can curl up into a ball whenever you go through these pine-looking things, you don't hit anything, which, thank gosh, I do not want to have to deal with that. And we meet my biggest enemy in this challenge. These birds. I want to show them my version of the bird because them. They swoop in whenever they want, and in this act, they're not too much of a threat. But in the next act, they are something different. In this act, they can be completely avoided, which, thank gosh. After a few more minutes of painful badniks and traps, we see Robotnik carrying a box. Wonder what that is. And Knuckles becomes a terrorist. And Robotnik reveals that the box was whatever this thing is. And as a final mini-boss, it's really not that hard. And that is the second to final act complete. Launch Base Zone Act 2. Here we are. The final level in the Sonic 3 portion of the game. This level does not disappoint in difficulty. To start, you go down the spinning platform, and if you want to succeed, you are going to have to follow these steps very carefully. Carefully pace down the frog, go onto the spring, avoid the stupid bird, and make sure not to be in ball form or else you will hit the bird. Jump above this spinning platform and keep running. Avoid the laser badniks, spin dash under the frog onto the zip line, destroy the pillar, damage boost from the frog, and avoid the flames. Destroy the Mogus looking thing. Keep on running, go underwater, spin dash. Now this part, I mess up the most. Avoid the birds and carefully spin dash and jump onto the spring. Make sure the birds are not in your way, because if you go to the pipe and you are in ball form, you will kill them. Jump to damage boost from the frog because you can't jump above it and you can't jump below it. Avoid some lasers, do some platforming, and avoid the frogs and the birds. Go underwater. Once again, damage boost from the frog to get by. Use the final zip line. Carefully move around the spike. Avoid the frogs and the birds. Go up the left, and there you go. You are now at the boss. Robotnik throws these spears at you, and it's really easy to hit him. And once that is cleared, Sonic will go to Robotnik's ship, and Knuckles will troll us again, and the Death Egg finally launches once again, and Knuckles just falls. I wanted to fight him, but oh well. And now we are at the second phase. And Well, that was easy for a final boss. I hope there isn't another... Oh yeah! Big arms! Here we are. The final phase. The final fight in this game. This will be one of the epicest ones so far. And it is decently hard. And... well, at least it was challenging. And with that, the Death Egg falls apart once again, and we just beat the Sonic the Hedgehog 3 portion of the game, and Sonic just falls, and the Death Egg falls down to Lava Reef. Mushroom Hill Zone Act 1. Tails drops us off and flies away. We see Knuckles hiding something, so let's let him have his privacy. And here we go. The badniks were a bit annoying, but not too bad. However, these mushroom-throwing badniks are not fun to deal with. Damage boosting is your best bet on getting anywhere in this level, and these stupid butterflies just suck. Go through loops and launch yourself, and there's another required spin dash because of these weird vine things. But sooner or later, you should be able to get to the mini-boss, and that's another act cleared! Mushroom Hill Zone Act 2. Knuckles comes back and trolls us once again, only this time, he sends us upward, and now it's suddenly autumn. This act is much harder than Act 1 in every way. The badniks are on specific substances. The chickens really suck, especially the fact that they blow. No pun intended. The butterflies really suck as usual. With the swings, the butterfly badniks just don't care. You will lose all your progress in terms of the swing. And the worst part is that swing is required to get past this level using this challenge. And the level mechanics do not help. The corridors do not do good. They usually put the chicken badniks in them, which was not helpful. And overall, this level was a real difficulty spike. But once we got to the wintry part of the level, we are almost there, and we made it to the Robotnik fight, and it was easy. And we see the... oh no. Flying Battery Zone Act 1. Now, if you have watched my Sonic Mania Ultimate Challenge video that was scrapped and added with 2 other challenges that you probably don't care about, the run ended with Flying Battery, but we will get to that soon. Flying Battery starts us off with climbing on monkey bar type of things, and make sure to avoid the mouse badniks. They are really easy to avoid, but do be careful. The outside sections were not too bad. Make sure to avoid the animal capsules because they will spawn in badniks, and skip from pole to pole from the next outside section, and be careful near the spike platform things. Just jump down, damage boost if you have to, and overall, I have most, if not the entire level memorized. So going through this level was easy enough. And we make it to the boss, and... wait. Oh yeah, I ended the Mania run because of the boss. Okay, I did not expect that. But I will take it. And that is another act cleared. Flying Battery Zone Act 2. Now here you might want to be a little more careful with what you do. These poles are really boring. Glad that was changed in Mania. The outside sections was not too bad, and the indoor section was pretty alright. Just avoid the spike balls and you will be good. Avoid some more collapsing platforms and go down one of them. Damage boost through more badniks if you have to. Go through more of these elevation things. Avoid more spikes, but overall this level is not too bad. And we make it to Robotnik's laser that blows itself up. And to avoid more moving platforms, and we get to the Robotnik fight, and that's another zone cleared. Well, that was a fun level. What was the next one again? Okay, Sandopolis. Sandopolis Zone Act 1. I don't like sand. It's coarse, and rough, and irritating, and it gets everywhere. The badniks in the zone just do not care. The sand block platforms were taking notes from Marble Zone from Sonic 1, which is one level where you should not be taking notes from. The spike tail badniks just simply suck, and you can sink in the sand, which sometimes it helps and other times you just fall to your death. The rock enemies can only be damaged by spin dashing into them, which is really helpful. This one right here was just a poor level design choice. Go down some ledges, avoid some caterpillar looking badniks, which are totally not copy and paste from the last few games. And that's not how gravity works. After being tortured by some more badniks in general, we... Oh shoot, I do not want to retry this level, please. Wait, we're already at the boss? Strange, isn't it? After cheaply killing this boulder dude by doing the oil ocean, we cleared this act, which leaves us with... Okay, here we are. The level I've been dreading the most in this game. Sandopolis Zone Act 2. If you know, you know. The light switch mechanic is not really fun, and the level felt more like a maze than anything else. The badniks are just aggressive as the last act, and it was not fun. These switches are not the greatest either. And we released the ghost, which is our biggest enemy in this level. The sand slide was somehow easier than I remembered, which is strange because I spent most of the time in this level trying to figure out what I'm supposed to be doing. I somehow missed these lifts most of the time, which is a skill issue on my part. And do not hit this spring too early or else you will die. The rising sand was probably my least favorite thing in this level, apart from the ghosts. And not being able to use checkpoints just hurts. I kept dying in this stupid sand pit every time, and I am sick and tired of it. But after lots of tries, I get to the point in the level where I only have to do a few more slides, and a few corridors later, I am already at the boss? That took me shorter than I expected. And after defeating Dr. Robotnik, we cleared this stage, and thank gosh, this was a challenging level. And now I can rest. Psych! Labyrinth Zone Act 1. Somehow or some way, this zone is even worse than Sandopolis. The enemies are worse than ever. At this point, they are ruthless. And this level is pretty long and lengthy, which makes things worse, considering I can't use checkpoints. And this level really checks upon what you have learned through this entire challenge. The fireballs were not easy to dodge, and the badniks come out of nowhere, which is asking for you to hit them. So wait and let them pass. Spin dashing here is necessary as well because of those lifts. Wait, this badnik dies and gives me points and frees an animal. So does that mean... No, just here are the rules. I am not in direct content, and thus it does not count as a kill. And I'm pretty sure I let the bomb enemies throughout this entire challenge slide, so... Yeah, these spike lifts suck. And these pole badniks can go suck up. They poison you, so you can't move as fast, and if you don't have enough rings, then boom, you're dead. And damage boosting is one of the most necessary things in this level. This level straight up took me hours to beat, and it was just not fun. And wait, I could have just spin dashed under these pole bandits the entire time. So make sure not to spin dash under them all the time because sometimes you will kill them. Still, after hours of memorizing the entire level, we make it to the mini boss and after many tries, I showed the boss who's boss, and I finally passed this stupid act. That took forever. Reef Zone Act 2. The transition from a volcanic hotland to a mystic cave made of crystals still amazes me to this very day. Now this level is very challenging, but not as frustrating as the first act. Yet again, the bandits are very terrible in this level. However, there are a lot less of the pole bandits that can poison you. The stage hazards and platforms were simple enough to navigate. Avoid the bomb bandits, spike ball platforms, this overhyped spike ball launcher. Seriously, take a listen. That is really exaggerated. Some more fire. Speaking of fire, the fire shield is very helpful in this level. And yes, you can still spin dash under the poison bandits. These launchers were not so bad. But do be careful when you get to these moving platforms, and we get this cool shot of Sonic running, some more exploding bandits, some spike poles, and after a few more platforming segments, we make it to a staircase. And Knuckles trolls us once again and sends us to the boss segment. The Death Egg finally starts up again and is ready for liftoff. And I was stressing because I do not want to restart this level again. After carefully platforming, we get to the lava section and I get the fire shield and well, that was easy. Why did Robotnik not use a machine like this ever again? If he wanted to survive and win, he could have not used the spike balls. But, oh well. That is another zone cleared, and we head down this hallway. Hidden Palace Zone. Now thankfully, this is a separate level from Lava Reef, so after gathering a few rings, we finally get to fight Knuckles. And this should be interesting because Knuckles can punch Sonic out of his super form, and that was easy. And Knuckles got trolled by Robotnik by stealing the Master Emerald, and Knuckles realizes that Sonic was not trying to steal the Emerald. I don't know. And Knuckles teams up with Sonic, and we head to a different route to catch up with Robotnik. Sky Sanctuary Zone. Now here, Knuckles pushes a button for us, and we move on. While he is just tired. The egg robos are very annoying, and the crumbling platforms did not make it better. And we get to Mecha Sonic Mark II. Trying to be Sonic 1's Green Hill boss. What a wannabe. After that was cleared, we moved on to the next floor by the teleporter thing. And the pole jump things are there. The cloud platforms were something. And this zone has an obsession with spinning platforms. And I have no idea why. And Mecha Sonic Mark II's now Metropolis from Sonic 2 wannabe. We easily defeat him once again, and no, The smaller Mechasonics do not count. Avoid some more egg robos. I almost killed this egg robo, which scared the hell out of me. We bounce onto some more springs, and we make it to the next Mechasonic Mark II boss, and it was not too bad. And with that, we can now proceed by going around to this pillar while it's collapsing, and we jump onto the Death Egg. Death Egg Zone Act 1. Here we are, the final zone in the game. And in terms of difficulty, this does not disappoint. The spike ball bandits will be a problem later down the level and in the zone in general. And these platforms right here are not the best. And the launchers are very annoying as they were in Sonic 2. And there are weird gravity sections, which is now what I call them. And the bullets are not very fun to deal with. And the temporary platforms can be quite annoying. And the lightning is a little scary to deal with. And the spin dash laser tunnel path is as cool as it's always been. And be very cautious when you make it to the conveyor belt segments, because you can accidentally get crushed by one of the spikes if you go under them too much. And who put these springs here? And damage boosting helps as always, and these springs saved me. And this is the part where you have to hit this. I don't know what to call it. It just sucks. But at least there's nothing that can stop you in this room. After a few more slopes, we make it to the hardest mini-boss in this game. And this boss is just ruthless. The first phase is basically a bullet hell, so make sure to keep at least one ring on you at all times. And the second phase is not much better anyways. Make sure not to be in the corners or else you will permanently lose that one ring. But after that, we cleared another act, and Sonic's instincts tell him to go to the middle of the platform, which is weird. And, well, that was convenient. Death Egg Zone Act 2. Here we are, the final big level in the 16-bit Sonic saga. And this is one of, if not the hardest level in this challenge. Or am I exaggerating because I want it to sound more epic than it really is? But if you want to get past this zone, you are gonna have to follow these steps to win. Be very careful at the start. You are in a tight area with no rings, and you have to avoid this spike ball bandit. And keep holding left even after the jump. Go through these anti-gravity section things, and I recommend heading to the right path. There, go through another conveyor belt spike trap, avoid a lightning, and avoid the spike ball bandit once again while upside down. Revert gravity, avoid the bullets, reverse gravity once again, and do it again. Carefully traverse these platforms. Who put these springs here? Go upside down and back to upside up. I don't know, the gravity sections are really confusing. Avoid another spike ball, bandit, and reverse gravity again. Don't be stupid like me, and don't hit the Robotnik monitors. Damage boost and do the spin dash laser path thing. Another spike conveyor belt section, spin dash down a ramp and bounce off the springs. Revert gravity again, and be careful with these platforms. This is where I mess up the most. So do be careful, because if you do it too much, you will fall to your death. Carefully avoid another spike ball bandit, but don't go too high or else you'll be electrocuted, and you have to precisely damage boost across to get past. go to another elevation chamber, go down another laser tunnel, do it again, down, and right, and down another laser path, grab an electric shield, and go through another tight corridor, and damage boost across, and then you will have made it to the boss. And you fight this sphere thing that shoots out these spike things. Do the gravity crap once again, and you beat that. And you will make it to the final boss in this challenge, the Death Egg Robot. And this fight was really challenging. And... ah, crap! I have to restart the level. Wait, why am I still here? Well, considering that this level is listed separately from the others in the level select menu, it is safe to assume that this is a different level. And unfortunately, I have no ranks for the rest of the boss. So spin dash on the fingers and we make it to the main part of the boss. Hit the nose and then the Master Emerald. Sounds like a very epic fight, right? And this is gonna be hard. We have just defeated the robot, and now it is time to defeat Robotnik one last time, and... we did it! Victory spin dash! One more time, I finally beat it, and thus our journey comes to a close. Sonic falls down from space, and Tails saves Sonic, swoops around Angel Island, and just leaves. And Sonic does not learn his lesson and just jumps off the tornado without his super form. Oh well, and uh-oh, the Master Emerald has fallen into Sky Sanctuary or something. I don't know, I just want to make it up at this point. Where Robotnik can easily get it. But Knuckles is not gonna take it like that, so he collects the Chaos Emeralds and the Super Emeralds somehow. I have no idea how or why. And goes further into Sky Sanctuary and legitimately, totally, beats Mecha Sonic Mark II and finally gets the Master Emerald back in its place or something, and Angel Island flies into space for some reason. And thus, it explains why Robotnik is in the middle of the ocean and everyone has a happy ending, or that type of crap. The end. I guess.
And that was the Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles Ultimate Challenge. Well, that was the most difficult game throughout the entire video. And we now need to answer the question. Can you beat the Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles Ultimate Challenge? Even I'm surprised by this, but yes! This game was super painful, but fun at the same time to do. And although it made me cry at some points, this has to be my favorite Sonic game to do this challenge with so far. But that was the classic Sonic Ultimate Challenge. Well, there you have it. The classic Sonic Ultimate Challenge. Not counting past 1996. I hope you enjoyed the hour and whatever of me ranting about a blue rat with spikes because of a movie about that blue rat with spikes facing off against another rat with spikes. Anyways, thank you for sitting through this video. I do not expect anyone to sit through this video for this long. So if you did, good job. Anyways, have a good holiday season, and see you next year.